Hello, my name is Teresa. I'm a comic artist and illustrator, and in this video, I'm gonna go through, a few of the sketchbooks that I've done. I mean, there's more over in that chair, but I don't wanna go too crazy. But basically, I'm gonna go through some of the key moments in my art development and show you a little bit of a timeline of what I've been doing to improve my drawing. I hope you enjoy it and it gives you a good idea of what it's like to learn how to draw. Okay, so let's start from the beginning. The year is 2001 and apparently I'm a furry. I don't know why. It's the only online community I found was the Lion King fan art archive. So here we are drawing Lion King fan art and drawing a lot of drawings for other people. That's what I was into. This was my original character. Look at that, lynx, an Iberian lynx, and it was called Romeo, so there you go. I was in school, so obviously exam time, and a lot of colorful, typical furry stuff, a lot of stuff for other people, so if anyone wanted me to draw their character, I was very happy to do it. And this is from Tattoo. Oh my god, yeah, that's the year Tattoo came out. And these were my drawings, my gang for a comic I was trying to do. At the time I didn't understand what inking was, so I did everything with my crayons because I didn't have any art supplies, obviously. Just general embarrassing stuff that you will draw when you're starting. And I went under a pseudonym at the time, that's Justa, which actually means cigarette butt. That's like, I don't know if that's a reflection of my self-esteem at the time or just because I smoked at the time. And I like skateboard and rollerblading and just political stuff. Number 1, be an idiot. Number 2, rule the world. So I had that bit right, and not the other bits. And I like drawing horses because the Spirit came out that year and I was obsessed. And as you can see, even at this very early stage, I was looking at anatomy because I wanted to get it right. So I had some interest in getting things right. Horses. This was my fursona, in case you're not a furry and you've never been in furry things. This is like who represents you. How embarrassing to admit that I was a blue meerkat. And of course everything done under pseudonym because I was embarrassed. And to be honest, I'm still a little bit embarrassed. And yeah, that was 2020 apparently. No, that's 2002. 2001, 2002. And this is where I was at the time. I wasn't studying a lot, but I was looking a little bit at horse anatomy and animal anatomy, more than I was obviously looking at human anatomy, because look at those faces. I thought it was my style to create these Hey Arnold faces, but no, it was just Hey Arnold. I liked Hey Arnold. Oh yeah, the foes, mystical and powerful race with cult souls and animal bodies. 2002, I was bloody 17, or maybe even 18. What is wrong with me? Michael Jackson lyrics. That is the beginnings, the awful beginnings. 2001, 2002, 17, 18 years old when I first started drawing. Next, I don't think you can call this a sketchbook. It just came off and I tried to tape it, but it's pretty much the same. I started drawing more with anatomy, so like looking at character design more carefully. So this is 2005, oh my god, that's 3 years later and I was still drawing animals. I still really like drawing animals, there's nothing wrong with it. And guess what, I started making comics. This is from, does it have a date? 2003, so that's after, the year after the sketchbook I just showed you. And this is, I think, if not my first, my second comic. It was very inspired by Johnny the Homicide Maniac, and I really like Digimon, so there's a lot of fan art, a horse killing Avril Lavigne because I was edgy. These first years I drew a lot of the same stuff, like little characters, lions. I don't even understand. I think this is from Resident Evil and this is from Zelda, so lots of fan art, lots of colorful stuff, lots of edgy stuff. Trying to get gesture. I started doing weird things with gesture at this time. It's me trying to plot out a comic and creating characters that, well, obviously I never made this comic, but these were the characters I was creating at the time. So look at that, what is that? It's like a grandma with a cigarette. This time that I was doing more edgy stuff, it's funny to look at the fact that my art became edgier. Is that a comic? How to be a human. Easy following... what? Steps for aliens? Okay, so I didn't finish that. You can tell like these pages are massive, like look at that. And I will have the tiniest of drawing in the middle and then move on. And that's, I think, a very good summary of what the first few years of drawing were for me. It was just like drawing a little bit, but not too much, and not committing to studying or anything like that. So I wasn't taking it seriously, I was just having fun. Alright, 2005 onwards. Okay, so I bought this third sketchbook, thinking that I was going to be more artistic, but inside I just realized that's the end of the other sketchbook because it completely fell apart. And look, I was starting to use ink at this point. I was starting to try things such as foreshortening. So yeah, it was the same ideas, but because I had been practicing for a few years, I was not confident enough to go into ink and like try light. Look, like this, I'm trying to shade and all sorts. So a little bit more sophisticated. But of course, I hadn't been through any study routine or any lessons at this point. Look at this. Look at this. I was trying to draw from life here, and I don't know what that is. If you know, you can tell me. And this is where I start inking my comics. Look. At this point I was trying to simplify my drawing because I realized I wasn't very good at it. So I started using basic shapes, so like stuff like this, making them still bright, still a bit childish because that's who I am, but now with like simpler shapes and trying different compositions. I was reading a lot more comics, so you can see like it's a lot. I'm looking a lot to composition, so you can see I'm drawing a lot more comics now. I finished comics. There's like page gags. It's a 2-pager. Oh my god. It was a 2-page comic. Look at that. This was very inspired by a comic I really liked at the time, which was called Never Ending Summer. And this is like a diary comic. I was into that sort of stuff. But a lot of it was just absurd humor, gag strips. Ooh. 2006 is when I started to take comics seriously and read more comics and you know, I'm trying to find a style. I'm making strips. Like this is a strip. So just one panel comics, trying different formats. Look at this crazy thing here. Black and white. I was doing backgrounds. Look at this stuff. This is from like more comics. This is when I started focusing more on comics and like designing characters and like looking more at design and like titles and this sort of thing. I wanted textures. I looked at paneling, just focusing more on comics and less on fan art and stuff and my own characters. This was my own character. That's what I used for this comic, which was the last comic I did before I quit. So that would be the end of this era. This was a comic I did for my own zine. I still have some copies of that zine. This is like proper old school, like if I made a mistake or something, I would paste it in. And this would be the end of my first era, if you will. Look at that. Look at that thing. That's pretty cool actually. I'm looking at it now and thinking, that's pretty cool. And this is all ink, and I put it in diagrams. I think I was very influenced by indie American comics like Chris Ware and stuff like that. And what I did with this last comic is I put it in a zine, which I'm going to show you right now. This was the one and only zine I published myself as an editor back in the day. I think this was in 2010. And it was a black and white zine. I still have like 5 of them left. So yeah, this was my only zine that I ever created. Dumb zine, number 0. There was never that number 1. And yeah, I printed 300, I sold them around, and that was the end of an era. After I did this, I stopped drawing for 5 years, so we need to time skip ahead. Oh, before I move on, these were the type of scenes we used to do. It was just literally paper, and it was with the collaboration of some town hall because they would allow us to use their printers, and it was just collaborative comics with other people. And we used to give them away for free. You see, there's no price. We used to go to Comic-Con and just give this out for free, and people would just throw them in the bin, and then we'll go out for beers. And that was the first era of my comic making. The zine era and the fan art and furry era, which ended in 2010. Alright, so that's it. Next week I will be coming back with the second part of this video where I come back to drawing a few years after and I start studying and preparing to be a better artist. I hope you enjoyed this embarrassing first part and I'll see you next week with the second part. Until then, bye bye.